4 children, 4 different fathers, none of them me.
Malik stared at the paternity test results. His blood ran cold. His world, built on a foundation of love and family, crumbled around him. He looked at the faces of his children, their laughter echoing in his ears, now a cruel mockery. The betrayal cut deep, a wound that wouldn't heal. His wife, the woman he had vowed to spend his life with, had shattered his reality. Each lie she had told, every stolen glance, every moment of assumed intimacy came crashing down on him. The weight of her deceit was suffocating.
Why? How could you do this to us?
Malik confronted his wife, her facade of innocence crumbling under his accusations. She confessed, her words laced with justifications and pleas for forgiveness.
I never meant to hurt you, Malik. Please, you have to understand.
But there was no forgiveness in Malik's heart, only a bone-deep ache. He had been played, used, his love thrown back in his face. That night Malik made a decision. He would not be a prisoner to his past, to the web of lies that had ensnared him. He withdrew every penny from their joint accounts, packed a single bag and left without a word. The roar of the airplane engine was deafening, but it was a welcome sound to Malik's ears. He was leaving behind the pain, the betrayal, the ghost of the life he once knew. He had chosen India, a country he had always been drawn to, its vibrant culture and bustling cities, a stark contrast to the quiet despair he was leaving behind. He landed in Mumbai, the city's chaotic energy both exhilarating and overwhelming. He found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, a far cry from the spacious home he had shared with his family. But it was his, a sanctuary where he could rebuild his life brick by painful brick.
This is where I start anew.
He spent his days exploring the city, losing himself in the labyrinthine streets and the aroma of spices that hung heavy in the air. He learned Hindi, the words unfamiliar yet comforting on his tongue. Slowly he began to shed the layers of his past, the pain of betrayal fading into a dull ache. One evening, at a local market, he met her.
Sandra?
Her smile was warm, her eyes full of life. She was a teacher, her voice gentle as she helped him navigate the intricacies of the Hindi language. In her company, Malik found a solace he hadn't realized he was craving, a connection that transcended his past. Sandra was a breath of fresh air, her laughter a balm to Malik's wounded soul. She was drawn to his quiet strength, the hint of sadness in his eyes that spoke of a life lived and lost. He told her his story, his voice raw with emotion, and she listened without judgment, offering him comfort and understanding. Their bond deepened, blossoming into love.
Will you marry me, Sandra?
Malik, for the first time since his world had shattered, allowed himself to hope, to believe that happiness was possible again. He asked Sandra to marry him, the words echoing with the weight of his past and the promise of a future he desperately wanted to believe in. Their wedding was a small affair, held in a temple overlooking the Arabian Sea. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the sound of chanting monks. As Malik looked into Sandra's eyes, her face radiant with love, he knew he had found his redemption. He was no longer defined by the betrayal that had driven him away. He was Malik, reborn.
I love you, Malik.
Life with Sandra was simple, filled with the quiet joys of shared meals, laughter, and long walks along the beach. He found solace in her embrace, her love a constant reminder that he was worthy, that he was loved. He had found peace, a fragile sense of normalcy that he clung to fiercely. Back in their old life, Malik's disappearance sent shockwaves through his former wife's world. The truth of her infidelity, once hidden in the shadows, was now laid bare for all to see. The whispers, the accusing stares, the judgment in the eyes of those who once called her friend were unbearable. But it was the loss of control that truly fueled her rage.
Malik had dared to walk away, to escape the consequences of my actions. He had taken my security, my comfortable life, and most importantly, my pride. I swore I would find him, make him pay for the humiliation he had inflicted upon me.
She hired private investigators, their initial searches yielding nothing but dead ends. Malik had vanished without a trace, his existence erased as if he had never been. But she refused to give up. She would scour the ends of the earth if she had to, driven by a burning desire for revenge. Years passed, the fire of her anger never dimming. Then one day a breakthrough.
A grainy photograph, sent by a private investigator in India, landed on my doorstep. It was Malik, his arm around a beautiful woman, their smiles a testament to the happiness he had found. The caption read, "Malik Kumar, living in Mumbai with his wife Sandra."
The photograph was like a brand to her heart, a constant reminder of Malik's audacity, his happiness a slap in the face. She studied his new wife, Sandra, her every feature, her every smile, fueling the flames of her hatred.
I would make him suffer, make him experience the same pain he had inflicted upon me.
She liquidated her assets, selling everything she owned to fund her quest for revenge. She traveled to Mumbai, the city sprawling before her, a concrete jungle hiding the man who had shattered her life. She hired a local private investigator, his eyes widening at the cold fury in her gaze. Weeks turned into months, her obsession with finding Malik consuming her every thought. The investigator, fearing for his own safety, presented her with a fabricated story of Malik's demise, hoping to quell her vengeful spirit.
But I saw through his lies, my intuition telling me that Malik was still out there, living and breathing.
She delved deeper into the city's underbelly, navigating the dark alleys and clandestine networks, her search for Malik becoming an all-consuming obsession. She befriended informants, bribed officials, her desperation growing with each passing day. She would not rest until she had found him, until she had exacted her revenge. Finally, after months of relentless pursuit, she found him, Malik. He was working as a teacher in a small school on the outskirts of Mumbai. The years had etched lines on his face, but his eyes still held the same warmth, the same kindness that had once captivated her. But there was no room for sentimentality, for memories of the man she once loved.
I watched him from afar, studying his routine, my heart a cold, hard stone in my chest. I learned of his wife, Sandra, the woman who had dared to take my place. A plan began to form in my mind, a plan fueled by years of bitterness and the insatiable thirst for revenge.
One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, she made her move. She followed Sandra, her steps silent and purposeful, her hand gripping a blade concealed beneath her shawl. Sandra, oblivious to the danger lurking behind her, walked with the carefree air of someone who had never known true fear. She cornered Sandra in a deserted alleyway, the stench of garbage and decay thick in the air. Sandra's eyes widened in terror as she realized the danger she was in. But before she could scream, the blade flashed, a silver glint in the dying light, silencing her forever. Malik returned home that night, his heart light with anticipation. He had a gift for Sandra, a beautiful silk scarf he had bought from the market. He found their small apartment unusually quiet, an unsettling stillness hanging in the air.
Sandra?
He called out, his voice echoing in the silence. He walked towards their bedroom, his heart pounding in his chest. The door was ajar, and he pushed it open, his breath catching in his throat at the sight before him. Sandra lay sprawled on the floor, her lifeless eyes staring vacantly at the ceiling, a pool of blood staining the rug crimson. A scream tore through Malik, a primal sound of anguish and disbelief. He rushed to Sandra's side, his hands trembling as he reached for her, but her skin was cold, her touch gone. He collapsed beside her, his world crumbling around him, once more the stench of death mingling with the sweet fragrance of the scarf he still clutched in his hand. As darkness enveloped him, one thought cut through his grief like a shard of glass. She had found him. If you would like part 2 next week, like, comment and subscribe, become a part of the Shark Pack today.